let's see how we go. We're going to be doing some art stuff today. Oh, that's very loud. Hold on one moment. I think my microphone is too loud. Let me turn that down a little bit. We're going to be doing some art stuff today. Maybe that was turned down a little bit too much. We'll see. I'll try to tweak it as we go along. Yeah, so we pretty much finished the twin stick shooter thing last week, and I was thinking that maybe today we're gonna like play some of the Game Jam games that were made for the Game Jam that we hosted. There's been 5 submissions all in all, but I just didn't think about downloading them all in time. So we might do that on Thursday. Do that like on stream a little bit and have a little bit of fun with all that. But yeah, so I didn't really like think about that in time. Probably like maybe I could have gotten them all in time, but I needed to like decide something, make a thumbnail. I was also like still uploading a bunch of stuff for like work, so my bandwidth was kind of like in use. So here we are. We're doing this instead. This is something that I need to do anyway, because we need to start working on the like animations for this thing and stuff like that. If we're going to be saying that the like rough version of the vertical slice for this dungeon is going to be in a stage where I wouldn't call it done, but it's approaching a level of progression. And I also need to like redo a lot of the scythe animations because they suck. And I'm just kind of considering whether or not I want to redo most animations to begin with at some point to make them a little bit better and to like make a more proper rig for everything in Blender. I did like an experiment with doing things in Unreal. The original animations for the player character were made in Blender with a meta rig, which kind of sucked for the proportions that I was using. Then I changed over to using control rig with an Unreal, which is amazing, but it's also like it's not quite there, you know. So I'm kind of thinking I still need to make quite a few animations for this dude. So maybe what I'll end up doing is I will end up like doing the rest of the animation in Blender. But if I'm going to do that, I need to make a control rig in Blender, and at that point I might as well redo some of the animations that we already have as well. But we can use the same skeleton and just like make animation assets in Blender and use those in Unreal. Those things can exist side by side, and at some point, if I have that control rig anyway and I'm going to redo some animations, I'll probably be redoing them in Blender. We'll probably need some amount of that control rig in Unreal anyway for things like real-time IK, for things like foot snapping to the ground and that kind of stuff, which I'll eventually do, I'm sure, at some point. This pickaxe is going to be static. Yeah, so this pickaxe, like all the weapons, is just going to be a static mesh. But what I mean with animation is just the character animation of him like swinging it around. Because obviously with a pickaxe, it's going to be different animations than with the sword, than with the scythe, than with like all the other weapons in the game. So that's kind of like the thing that I've been thinking about. But for now, what we're going to do is we're just going to add in a cube and gonna get started on this thing. Really, that's so yeah, let's do that. Should we do this as a cube or should we do that as a... That's a good point. Should we do this as a cylinder from the start? I'm gonna just stick with a cube for now. I don't know if that's necessarily a good idea, but it's what we're gonna go with. So here we are. And this is just for now a like pretty rough block out, and we'll go back over and add some like more detail to this, and then we'll also like subdivide it, and I don't know, there's going to be a lot of like sculpting maybe in the end. Like I don't know if I'm going to do this with like there's going to be a high poly and a low poly version of this thing. I want to like really give this as like the first weapon that I immediately make a somewhat game ready asset for instead of the sword, which is very ugly, the scythe, which I had a freelancer do. This one I kind of want to make myself and make more or less like instantly game ready. The perspective on this is not quite proper for the reference image, by the way, and that is because it is AI generated, so it's a little like weird in a lot of ways. Probably could do this with inset and stuff, but as you can see, it's not a like full on like frontal view. It's got a little bit of like weird perspective on it, which makes doing this a little bit of a nightmare. But we'll get to there, I'm sure. This is the easy bit, I think. Maybe it won't be, we'll see. Yeah, so that's our handle so far. It's looking great, isn't it? How do I move? Oh, just holding shift. Yeah, that's right. Then I don't know, I'll do something like this. Alright, yeah, so that'll be the basic shape of the handle. I don't really know how we're gonna like move forward from that. Like how are we gonna do like any of the topology on this? There's gonna be a fair amount of probably separate meshes combined into this one mesh, I would think. Like most of like up until at least like this block over here is going to likely be one gigantic like connected mesh. But then these pipes I'm probably going to just make separate meshes, as in they won't be like physically connected through vertices. They're going to be one object. But I don't think I'm going to like make everything like 100% properly connected with all this, and they might be clipping through each other a little bit. I'm not overly concerned with making this like the perfect piece of like 3D art on a technical level, because if I was, I would not be doing this myself, because I am bad at that. I just need this to be like good enough, right? Not to say that a perfect piece of 3D art, by the way, is always necessarily just one continuous mesh, because obviously that's like not the case either. So, well, that's actually a pretty good start, I would say. It really helps having this like reference image, which is at this point more of like a tracing image than anything else. At least for the handle, that was a pretty good, easy start. Now though, I think what we're gonna do right away, just to give me a bit more of a idea of what I'm actually like doing, is maybe adding the subdivision now already. Because if we now look at it like that, is like instantly a lot better in a lot of ways, right? And we might do 2 levels of subdivision, and then we will have to go in and like find these like loops that we want to like crease up a little bit eventually to make them like a little bit more angular. But for now, I don't know, does it make more sense to block it out first like very low poly for like reference purposes? I think it might, and then go in. Yeah, so let's actually keep that turned off for now. Yeah, so as you can tell, I have like literally no idea what I'm actually doing. Let's just make this like one giant block for the time being. And then the question quickly becomes, how are we going to like split this up? I have no like actual idea for this. I kind of feel that the top part here, maybe it's not even like properly centralized. Like none of this is. Here you can really start feeling like, yeah, this was AI generated, because at a glance, this looks amazing. When you actually start looking into it, like, this is not like centralized at all. This is offset from the center as well. Like, this entire thing isn't like balanced in any sort of way. But yeah, so what I'm thinking is we make this entire section still part of this mesh, and then we kind of like insert this blue part into it as a separate mesh, because that's also like physically how this like object would work, right? Also, good news, we haven't dropped any frames so far. And I'm kind of annoyed by that, because I think it is literally just because I'm on a different instance of OBS. Which is insane. But here we are. So yeah, I think what we do is we kind of just do it like this, and then, I don't know what we're doing there, man. So yeah, I think we kind of just like do this. More or less, right? And this is also going to, again, it's not like super symmetrical in any way. But that's okay. It's only a rough guide anyway. So there's definitely already an issue here with this being like way too thick, right? We can agree on that. So what we probably want to do, just to like get ahead of that, is select everything here. And like kind of do this. I mean, the entire thing is probably too thick to begin with, right? It's like very thick. Yeah, so let's actually like squish the entire thing down a little. Thick axe indeed. If we look at this, like that's starting to look a little bit more. At this point, it feels a little like not round enough again, though. So I think we need the handle as a whole to also be like less fucking chungus, right? Hello again, Eric, for joining the stream. Let me try to like figure this out. Like, we'll call this ish the handle, and then try to like make it somewhat round. Okay, this is going to be a bit of a pain, because how do I ensure that this is about as like thick as it is wide? I guess just through trial and error. Yeah, I think that's a little bit better. And now we can start working on like this bit a little, which is mostly just not rotate that, you insane person. This being a little bit thicker is probably okay, because it also like, this doesn't even need to come to a point here either. I just realized, like, this is fine if it is wider, because there's gonna be like a thing that slots into it, right? So this doesn't need to come to a point. This is the only bit, well, and that actually needs to come to a point. This actually like needs to be somewhat wider still. So actually, now that I say that, take everything about this, except for that one. Don't select that one, that would be bad. And just generally like widen the ever-living hell out of it. Seems pretty good. So now we have the other side. We'll worry about this in a moment. When I say in a moment, I mean eventually. This is going to be a fairly easy thing to make, though, so we might as well like do that at first, because I have an idea as to how we're going to do it. I have no idea what we're actually going to do with this, because this seems like a fairly continuous like piece of metal like coming out of here. I guess we can try to like do it like this, but this might be like super dumb. I have a fair deal of knowledge about metal work and smithing since I did that for a long time. Don't bother with reality for games. Optical design is fair. Yeah, no, definitely. Nothing about this is like realistically probably going to like be workable, right? It's a fantasy weapon. Just like we were talking about this in the Discord earlier today when I was like generating these images as like reference to work off of. It's a fantasy weapon. And fantasy weapons are like oftentimes like super stupid, and I like put in a image of like Cloud's Buster sword as an example. Like that sword is insane. It's literally the size of a person, right? Well, if we're talking about Final Fantasy VII specifically, like that thing is a like person-sized chunk of metal, and then we've got like Sephiroth's sword, which is like a lot thinner, but it's like a katana that's like a person and a half long. It's like super stupid. So it needs to like look cool. That's the most important part. But like while thinking about like how to put like this stuff together from like okay, how does the design that we have like physically work? This would be a separate piece, so it probably is okay for it to be a separate like mesh piece as well, because they don't need to like very much blend into each other. Whereas this side, you can see in the design, which it very much looks like one continuous piece of metal. So if I can get it done in a way where the mesh for this is also one continuous piece, that would be nice. And then all these pipes, for instance, these pipes are going to be separate meshes. For sure. I'm not gonna like torture myself making like one mesh for all these pipes. These pipes also, when you like look at them, you can see it's very AI generated because it's super nonsensical, everything that's going on here. Bigger the sword, the more cool. That's pretty much the idea. So do that like at 90 degrees. And then my idea is kind of to just try to like... that doesn't really work, does it? Flambrook was about 3 meters, 2 meters. I've never heard of that. Is it still like is that like a reasonable like width? No. Yeah, so like that sword is like just reasonably sword shaped. Cloud sword is just like a chunk of metal with an edge. Right, for anybody like assuming that this is the right like type of sword. To begin with, I don't know. Like this, even if it's like 2 or 2.5 meters or 3 meters long, like that's still gonna be like super heavy and obviously like two-handed weapon. With like a lot of range. But if we go like Buster Sword, like that's just wow, right? Like actual insanity. But I like it. I especially like it in Kingdom Hearts, where Cloud apparently has used his sword so much that it needs to be bandaged up. Hold on. Because that always gave me a good old chuckle. Is in Kingdom Hearts, it's like filled with bandages, which you can only imagine makes the sword less effective as a sword. But it looks badass. This is one of those things like, it's stupid, but it looks badass. So that's why they did it. That said though, how do I guess what we do is we do it like this and then bevel. a little more? I don't know, man. I'm just like trying to come up with this as we go. Can I like make that have like an offset or something like that? Inner arc? No, that's also weird because that feels like it's the outer. So yeah, maybe this is not necessarily the way to do this. This is where I can like really tell that my lack of like actual Blender knowledge comes in. I guess we can kind of just like do this. I know that's roughly halfway through. That might be good enough. It also doesn't need to match this like 1000% exactly, right? It's just a reference point. And I actually don't hate that. Nobody actually used that sword. I'm just going to say that sword because I don't know how to pronounce it. Like Cloud. Yeah, so Cloud just kind of uses his Buster Sword. Just like it doesn't weigh anything. He almost uses it like a lightsaber, right? Which is insane. If you look online, there are people who train with like 20, 30 pound Buster Sword replica at speed. It looks good. Yeah, but the actual Buster... I don't know, how much would the actual Buster Sword weigh? It's probably like... If it was like just solid steel. Because that's what it very much looks like, right? And I know that steel is like a... more of a category than a specific metal. Because it's just like iron and carbon, right? So like what even like is steel and how much does it weigh? There's probably like a variable answer to that question, I imagine. But if you like go ahead and calculate what... I think like Man at Arms at some point made a to scale actually like fully forged Buster Sword, right? Did they like weigh how much it actually is? Because I imagine it's like actually like legitimately backbreaking. About 25 pounds. I mean, I do not believe that a like full-sized Buster Sword made of steel would just be 25 pounds, right? Surely that would be heavier than that. I mean, maybe I'm just mistaken, but... Oh yeah, people are saying about 20 to 30 pounds. Okay, so yeah, maybe I'm just... Yeah. Seems like it would be heavier than that. But people have done the math, and... here's a guy that says 120 pounds. That's more in the range that I was imagining. Like, the replicas being a reasonable, like, weight for people, I understand, but... Yeah, you've got like a full size replica here for about like 20, 30 pounds. Yeah, most people seem to be in a 30-pound range. Like the one guy that's at 120, but... Nothing is made out of polygons. I mean, that's also fair. Okay, so here somebody actually does the math. You can check me on the math because you probably know. Steel weighs about 0.28 pounds per cubic inch, it says. Assuming the buster sword is about 5 feet long, which I feel like is reasonably guessed. 1 foot wide. Might be a little less than that, to be fair. And on average about 2 inches thick, which seems fairly okay. That would be about 1,440 cubic inches, which would be 400 pounds. Is what this says. Assuming just regular steel. Yeah, there's the question of like what actual like composition the metal is, right? But yeah, here another guy says just like about 250 pounds. So there's a very like wide guessing work here from like anywhere from 20 to 400 pounds. So if I had to guess, I would have had a guess around like just purely based on like gut feeling about 150, which is like definitely like don't swing that around. Because you're gonna fucking decapitate yourself. Anyway, yeah, so that's the basic shape. I'm a centimeter kilogram. Yeah, so I usually am as well, but like it's funny with this type of stuff. The whole internet is so Americanized that I actually like have some sort of intuition for what idiot units, I mean freedom units, I mean American units, I mean imperial units, like what that actually would be. But I have no idea what, like, I have a feeling for it. I don't know the conversions off the top of my head, but we can like look that up. Like let's go with the 120 lbs. So kilograms, that would be about 55 kilograms, 120 pounds. And if we do like the 400 one, that would be about 180 kilograms is what Google says. But I think the 400, I mean, the math kind of seems like it adds up. From like a gut feeling perspective, I feel like that may be a little bit too much. But yeah. I also do think that it's probably a good idea to not do that. To just lower this whole thing. Oh, fuck. Everything except for these. Oh, that's annoying. That's really annoying. Hold on. No. Just. I guess that works. I just want everything to be like a little lower down so it feels like it's like inset a little bit more. Yeah, with the full size one, I end up at about 55 kilograms. So yeah, that's roughly what I was thinking as well. Like in the anywhere in the 50 to 80 kilogram range is what I was imagining, which is a pretty big range to be fair. But yeah, that like 25 to 30 pounds would be like literally only a couple of kilograms, right? That's about half. You can about halve it and you can get close enough. That's a good. It's divided by 2.205. So if it is 30 pounds, that would be only 13 kilograms, and that seemed a little on the low side to me because I would be able to lift that probably. And I'm not like a gym bro that's like super strong or anything. Matter of fact, I'm a game developer, so I'm the opposite of that. Now, how do we deal with this? Because what I'm thinking right now is we just kind of take everything. Oh my god, no, hold on. X-ray, get rid of that. I'm thinking we just kind of inset this and then we scale it to 0. Scale it in the X to 0. No, scale it in the X to 0. Right. And then maybe we can just like merge by distance. I don't know if that's going to fuck with like any of the loops though. It might. Hold on. What happens if I do this? I guess that just kind of, well, I feel like these loops actually work well enough. Yeah, no, that's actually not that bad. This is horrendous, but Bounce confused me. I had to do the math in kilograms. Yeah, I mean, just in general, math makes more sense than kilograms, so I can't quite blame you for that. Matter of fact, I like just agree with you. Again, I call them idiot units for a reason, not because the people that use them are idiots. It's because it's a very dumb system. Like your average American can't really like help that, but man, does it make no sense. All right. Crease this fucker up a lot. I might be better off doing this with a mirror modifier, I'm thinking, just to make sure that everything remains at least semi-symmetrical, but because largely all of this needs to be relatively sharp, I think. I'm thinking whether or not these need to be sharp. They probably do. Yeah, they probably do. And they probably also need to... Well, no, that's actually probably pretty good. Looking at this. The only issue that I might have is that they are like a little too close to the center, but that I think is the issue with the... Oh, what the fuck are the... Okay, so this is where the loops don't really... Oh, yeah, that's where the loops really don't make much sense anymore, do they? Yeah. Let's think about that. So what I'm thinking is we take everything that this area over here has to offer, which is all this. I guess this as well. And we move that like a fair bit to that side. And then, I mean, I guess we should put in a mirror modifier here just to... Yeah, let's do this with... Oh, I don't have... It's a new instance of Blender as well. I don't think I have auto mirror. And I would need to download that, right? Because that is a thing now. Yeah. So I kind of don't like the fact that Blender doesn't like just download with a bunch of unenabled stuff anymore. Well, it does a few, but most of the add-ons are now like on the Blender marketplace, which we'll just manage, I'm sure. Oh, that's not at all what I wanted to do. That's too much, I think. Maybe the issue isn't necessarily that they're too close together. I think the issue is more so the fact that it feels like it's like bending over too much. So I think it's specifically maybe just this line that might need to like move over a little bit. And then like these two lines, and then hold on. If we're gonna like manually do the symmetry, we need to like manually do the symmetry, right? And I think getting all of these lines creased up as well is also going to do good. That's the bevels. It's not what I want. Just creasing these up a little bit more. That's maybe a bit too much, to be fair. Yeah, I think we can kind of vibe with that. Oh, there's also like this. Oh yeah, that's probably part of the. Ooh, I didn't think about that. So, yeah, okay. Maybe let's take this from a different direction, because I do want that like little extruded border around it, right? And I don't have that right now. Well, actually that is this, isn't it? Hold on. Yeah, that's this. So I do have that. But that doesn't make like any physical sense with how this is, because this should be outside of that. So that's an issue. But it's an issue that is fixable. If not a little weirdly, but it will be fixable. Because we can make this. I never know what this boundary thing even does. Like half the time it doesn't actually work. We can try to like, and then merge by distance. No, merge. Other merge. Merge by distance. Thank you very much. No, actually that was bad. That was bad. That's not what we wanted to do. We just want this to... See, this is... Now I remember why I don't do art on live stream, because I just end up saying, no, that's bad. No, stop it. Now this isn't symmetrical at all. I think... Okay. I think we just need to rethink the entire situation with this stuff. So let's actually just get rid of these bits over here for now. And I'll just redo that. There might be a better way to do this than selecting all the faces individually. If there is, you're going to be too late telling me, because I'm almost already done with them. So there we go. Delete them faces. No, there's a lot of stuff that didn't get deleted, is there? These words, that seems about right. We don't have auto merge. That should be a thing that's just in... Yeah, auto merge. Well, for now, I guess we merge by distance. And then we auto merge. And that should now just be one line, right? Yes. Gonna set the crease for this back to 0. And then both of those are gonna get filled up. Does that fuck my edge loops in any way? No, it actually kind of repaired them, it seems like. Well, until it didn't. Why are you like this? Because our stuff down here got merged. That is fine, I guess, if we just make this come to a point. I enjoy watching it though. I mean, if you enjoy me being an idiot, welcome. How do you think I do pixel art? It's like, no, that's bad. Needs more contrast. But that's the thing though. It feels like you know what you're doing, whereas I'm just like panicking the entire time. And nothing else. Just panicking. But if I just do this, right, that will create that like little outer edge that we have going on for us right there. And then we can use these two things to create a little like, yeah. So we can inset that. And then need to pay a little bit of attention to what the hell I'm doing here. But if we then just like extrude this and make it go down only in the Z, and then we'll do something like that, right? That's a lot more thick than I thought it was going to be, to be fair. And these also, well, now this doesn't need to be in the outside. Then we have those like little like half circles which need to be on the outside. But those can be a separate mesh on top of this. This feels like it is too thick though still. I feel like this should be more like this. Well, no, definitely not like that. A little more like this, which I guess that's fine. I mean, it looks kind of shit, but we'll figure it out, I'm sure. So yeah, then we do the cylinder as a separate mesh for now, I think. I do think there is a certain, well, aside from just like a certain, like morbid entertainment in seeing somebody fuck up. There also is a certain amount of like actual value in that, I feel. So I kind of get that. Still feels kind of shit though. And then I guess we don't, I was gonna do a cone, but I think we can just like do this, and it doesn't even need to come to a point if we do that, which is probably good. Well, maybe a little bit more of a point. And then we, as a whole, size this thing up a little bit. And then we can shade auto smooth. Throw on a bevel. That didn't take, why not? Throw on a bevel, there we go. Weight, and we can, this probably doesn't need to have a bevel, but I would like to give this a bit of a bevel, I think. And then obviously this needs, maybe it would be even like a little bit longer. And I probably could do with a bit of a bevel as well, but it's not getting beveled. Oh no, it is, never mind. And then it only needs to be half of it, because the other half is going to be stuff and things. So let's, I guess, find the right key, please, for this. There's got to be one somewhere. Nope, not that one, not that one. I guess we can just click on this, actually. Yeah, I found it. If we just delete all these words, that cuts it in half perfectly, which, I mean, from a topology perspective, I don't know what I'm gonna do with that. But it also won't animate, so if the topology is a little messed up in some places, I think I can kind of deal with that. So it's probably okay. This does need to have a face though. But maybe having an end gun here isn't that big of a deal because it's going to be an inside face. Does it need to have a face actually? I don't... No, it doesn't. There's no real good reason to give this thing a face. Because there's going to be something else like over it anyway. So let's just not give this a face for the time being. Well, this thing back here definitely is going to need a face though. And maybe for the beveling, that thing in there having a face might be a good thing. But for now, let's keep it the way it is. And add a mirror modifier. And mirror it along this object. That's the wrong axis. But there we go. Let's save actually. Which I guess means that we're going to need to work on this thing. Which also means that there's going to be a fucking like Chungus situation. Unless, well, it doesn't need to be. Because now that we have this as a general like setup. We can very much just say, hey, we're going to take this and we're going to scale it. Maybe we don't do that actually. Because it will require like all of this to also be scaled down, which might be annoying to do. Or it might not be. One thing that it surely will be though is proportion warping. So I don't know that I'm like super happy with that. Because if we do this, it's gonna make the entire thing a lot thinner. But that might actually be not that bad. No, it's not even that bad. And we can make certain parts thicker if we need them to be thicker again in the future. And now that we have that, I do feel like this is maybe a little bit too big again. Like, that's the type of thing where I'm like, yeah, okay, at this point I'm just like fine-tuning and tweaking, and I actually feel like I have some idea as to what I'm doing for a change, which is quite rare. Let's crease this up a little, like just everywhere. And then I think I just want like this to be almost 100% creased, I think. Like, it should be very creased, because here it needs to go into like feeling a lot more angular again. I'm kind of thinking, should I like maybe not subdivide this, but do it the other way around instead, where everything is just chunky and I bevel based on weights? No, because then I'm going to need to bevel a lot of edges. Then again, I'm also going to need to crease all these edges, so maybe it makes sense to do this with a bevel. We can just have both. Right. And see, like, if we just bevel everything and then we increase the amount, that doesn't do anything. Why doesn't that do anything? It's quite binary. I don't know why. Is it because the subdivision is there? No. So everything is fully beveled. This is the most bevel that it's given us. Why is it not doing any more beveling? Yeah, okay, so we're gonna go with subdivision. We'll maybe add a little bit of bevel at the end in some places where it needs to, but I think we're going to go with subdivision for this one. For the most part. So I guess this is going to be a separate little mesh over here. So let's add in a cube again. Oh, it might be, hold on, it might be that this thing is scaled weirdly. No, it's scaled 111. I don't know what the hell is the issue in that case. X-ray this so that it can be... Yeah, I'm never sure whether or not I want to go in a model with like beveling everything or subdividing everything to create like roundedness, because both are like effectively the same thing anyway. It's just like kind of inverse workflows. Oh, don't crash! Don't crash! You're crashing. I think we saved before starting to do the beveling thing, right? So we can fairly safely... Oh, no, you didn't crash. Okay, good. Save. There we go. I didn't panic. You panicked. All right. This is offset in a weird way. Make it thick. Like that. Got my ass saved there for sure. And then technically like this has like even more of a rounding from like here to all the way over there. So let's try to see if we can replicate that. Because I do think again that trying to like stick close to this does make sense if we can. Even if it doesn't always like make total sense the way that this has been generated. What does it do when I... Why does it do that? Does it slide edges based on your camera view? That'd be weird. But I do think that's probably like not that bad actually. Definitely a bit of tweaking that can and should be done here. Like for instance, this definitely can do with a bit of tweaking, and this can be a little up higher as well. And mostly I think these two can gain a little bit of height so that it feels a little bit more like it's maybe coming down. And then I do think that this should come to a proper point first and foremost, a little bit more. But also that this, let's just make it a triangle. This doesn't need to like have proper edge flow. I think that this as a whole also can do with just having a bit more of this going for it, where it has an edge. And then the fall off for this will like be not that bad. Maybe we just do the first two. And then the fall off can be... I know that it works less well as a pickaxe when it has like that flat face to it. Actually, no, what I think it should do is we should add in that face again, so that we can have proper edges here. What it should do is it should have this loop, because then this loop specifically That's not how that works, is it? This loop specifically at some point. Well, not these ones, maybe. Trying to figure this out, okay? We'll get there. Scale this in the Y. Can have like a little bit more of a blade-like design, and then whatever the fuck is happening with this, I don't know. What the hell? I think this is just inverted at this point. Yes. Oh, what the? How did that happen even? Well, that's fixed. I think in general, like just merging these bits together is what we're going to do anyway. I don't know if this is the right time to do that. Might be better to not do that right now, to be fair. But yet here we are. And then I think we want to do the same thing at the top, just so that we have a little bit more of that sword-like vibe. So we do that over here as well. And we just take this face all the way down to this face, and we just say, hey, you are gonna shrink. Yeah, that pretty much gets us the way. Yeah, I'm getting a little bit better at this blender thing. Slowly but surely we'll get there. Can I just ID? I have an ID. I can just take like all these and I merge by distance instead of doing them all one at a time. And because they're not that close together, can I please select the proper thing? Thank you. I can just crank up the distance a little bit, and that should merge them all pretty good. And then we merge this thing into a point, because the unholy abomination of faces that's happening here, I don't even want to look at. But yeah, I think that works out fairly well. Hope you're doing well. I hope you're doing well too. I'm actually surprisingly not very depressed about the way that this is going. Like, this is actually going decently well for me doing some art stuff, which usually is a goddamn nightmare. So, quite happy with all that. Yeah, I guess we also add in a subdiv for this. And then we make sure to crease up all the proper edges, which is like literally just like the edges going around like this need to be like creased up obviously a lot. Well, just to the max, I would argue, yeah. And then also these edges that like kind of show the like the contours of the blade. If we crease those up as well, we like really get that proper point back. Now we shade auto smooth. And I would argue we have, well, we probably could actually do it like these specifically. Maybe having a little bit more crease still. Make it symmetrical though. Yeah, I don't hate that. I don't hate that at all. What I do hate is what this will do when I turn it back on. I guess it's time to start like creasing up this thing a little bit so that we have a better idea what the overall like vibe for this thing is going to be. First and foremost, it is like actually ridiculously round. I don't know why it is this round. Or not round, it's actually like fairly square. So I guess we do need to like bevel some of this shit a little bit, which I prefer not to do. So I guess if we, what if we bevel it before still? Then the subdiv doesn't do anything anymore. And it becomes even more of a rectangle or a square, which we obviously do not want. As someone who can't model for their life, you're doing great. I mean, thanks. I disagree, but thanks. I could be doing worse. Like I'll give you that. I could definitely be doing a hell of a lot worse. If we like crease all this up like real good, we start getting some of that like definition back in the edges. It's starting to look a little better. Or worse. If it looks worse, please don't tell me. Because I just start to feel good about myself and I would prefer to keep it that way. But I do think it actually does like improve the look. I still don't like the way that all this is very like square for like the handle. I don't know necessarily that we're going to be able to do like all that much about it though. Well, for this we just need like the point to be creased very badly, right? Yeah. Yeah, that does so much. Holy hell. Like that's actually, I didn't expect that to work that well, but that adds so much actual like good stuff to this. And how does the wireframe look? Well, the wireframe doesn't take this into account until we go back into like, does it in edit mode? Could have sworn that wireframe mode should also show you subdivision. I guess it doesn't. I would like to see the actual like wireframe of everything so that I know how dense the mesh is. When did it stop doing that? Oh, there we go. So this is the actual like density of the mesh. So that's like not bad. Obviously we have some loops over here due to the subdivision, and that's why I don't love the subdivision. We could very much get away with taking like a couple of these loops out and saving a couple of triangles that way. But aside from that, this is a pretty decent density for the mesh. I mean, I personally like, instead of like have a 3D asset like co-worker who's like effectively dirty talking to his to his model, I more so prefer to like curse at it and tell it that it's worthless and its family doesn't love it. But to each their own, I guess. To each their own. Now, how do we? I guess we like just do this and this, because we're gonna do the same thing for this side that we did for the other one, which just necessarily adds a couple of extra loops that we maybe like don't actually need, but what are you gonna do about it? Center around that. You can tell that I'm less used to working with this than I am like coding or doing like blueprint stuff. Oh, that actually is kind of annoying, isn't it? Well, no, it's not necessarily, because we can... Because I keep saying out loud what I'm doing instead of just doing it while talking about other stuff. Not that I generally have the focus to do two things at once, even like in code. But you can like let me pretend, okay? So yeah, then we don't actually do these. It was so weird that he was professional in meets and stuff, but outright insane when he was modeling. I mean, that's kind of what you have with artists in general, right? Like, a sane artist is not a good artist. Like, to be a good artist, you need to be a little insane. But to be good at anything, you need to be a little insane, to be fair. If I just do like this... and then just merge this. That pretty much gets me what I want. It's destructive as hell as far as like workflow goes, but I never claimed to be a professional. And if I did, well, tough luck, I'm not. So that's pretty good. And then we pretty much just do the same thing here, right? But if we're gonna do all that, the only thing that we really need to scale is like this. Because the rest we're just gonna merge. So we just need to like do this to being very thin. And then we just do this and merge. Yeah, that's a little bit less of a headache. And then the question is what the actual hell's going on with any of this, because I think it's just this that needs to be merged now. And then we're just going to select everything up until the end, and then we merge that to a point, and we also have that side of the pickaxe now done. While coding, I talk about stuffed badger that was a gift from my daughter. I mean, that's kind of... I was going to say that's kind of sweet, and then I was like, no, I don't think it is. It's cat-like behavior is what it is, which... I mean, cats are nice. The amount of dirty talk I heard while I was making a 3D vase model. Oh yeah, no, there's like, oh, nice curves. You like those curves, do you? When I code, I self-report to myself what I'm doing. It helps me focus on work. I mean, I kind of do that as well now that I'm thinking about it when I code. But when I'm coding, the difference between when I'm coding and when I'm doing this is when I'm like doing art, I'm talking about what I'm doing right now. And when I'm coding on my own, like when I'm on video, obviously I'm trying to do as much as possible like in the moment. But when I'm on my own, I'm generally like doing my code stuff and I'm thinking ahead about what we're going to be doing next. And then making like 20 million typos because I'm thinking about two things at once. But that's... yeah, that'll just happen. But yeah, I think the like rough shape of the pickaxe here, that kind of works. I kind of dig it. You see what I did there? You see what I'm so funny. So I guess let's try to add this thing onto it, which is going to be a bunch of separate meshes. Well, at least one separate mesh on top of this, because I don't think we could do it as part of the same mesh. Let's try to do it as part of the same mesh, but then it's going to be annoying because I don't have the auto mirroring thing. So it might actually like be less of a headache to just, yeah, let's just do it. Because this is probably going to be like very bevel based anyway, right? Yeah, I've talked myself into doing this as a separate mesh for now. And I don't know if this is a good idea, but it's the way that we're going to do it, so sue me. Well, don't actually sue me, please. I prefer to remain unsued. If at all possible. If I wanted to be sued, I would just make a Pokemon-like game. Because apparently that's how that works. Okay, we're gonna eyeball trying to center this thing, right? We can't possibly do a worse job than ChatGPT did, so we'll probably be fine. That actually seems pretty decent. I think that's pretty decent. We can measure it if we wanted to, but I don't know that I want to. I think I'm just gonna, like, pretend like this is good enough. And we're just kind of gonna live with that. So, yeah, the size of this thing... Oh, we actually could just, like, kind of use this as a guide, couldn't we? Well, no, because it's not properly centered, so never mind. I do want to... Hold on. We'll get there. There we go. I do want to kind of use this still as a, like, guide for roughly... that's an interesting thing. I think what we're going to do... I'm going to extrude this inward. Yes. And then we're going to... just select these 4 edges and bevel them with a bevel of 1. I think that'll do what I wanted to do. It's just a bevel of 1. Yeah, there we go. That makes that a, what is that, an octagon? That's 2, 4, 6, 8. Yes. And then we have this as just like a fairly straightforward, what the fuck, what do I even have selected? There we go. Then we have this as a fairly straightforward octagon face, which, yes, is an n-gon, but I don't care. So we can go face select mode, back to this, back to that, and then we can just kind of like inset it. And I don't know if I have a lot of room to keep extruding inward. I might not. But I don't need to have a lot of room to keep extruding inward, because it's just like this one little bit, and then, yeah, so that's about it. So that's kind of everything we need. And then, of course, we do need, like, just a general bevel everywhere. Well, not everywhere, but we need, like, this... like bevels on the outside and then bevels on the inside everywhere. Ooh, yeah. Okay, so actually let's just select everything and bevel. Oh, okay, so yeah, this might be slightly problematic with the bevel thing. Oops. Yeah, so because of this like triangular face here, we have a bit of an issue. So what we probably need to do in order to fix that would be... That's a good question. How would we fix that? I guess we won't, which is kind of fucked. Yeah, so because of all that, we really like just cannot bevel properly. So what we do, I know what we do actually, is we add some cuts to make that a loop in and of itself. Which might also then create other issues, we'll see in a moment. Oh, we actually, yeah, so we need to add some more cuts. Don't you love technical bullshit like good, like edge flow and like topology, because otherwise Blender just tells you to go die. This is the kind of thing where I'm like, I understand that this stuff has to work in a certain way, but now we should have, we don't. Why don't we have a proper edge? This is a... Oh, because this now, yeah, okay. That is super annoying. These need to go all the way through, and we need to also like have a bunch of weird ass geometry here now because of that. Control Z is my best friend, yeah. So the issue is that we need to have like, well, not actually that much. The face at the back will be an N-gon, but I don't know if that will matter. We just need to connect these up. So that it has an idea, I think, of what like the edges are. And then we should be able to edge select that again, which might solve our beveling issue. It might also make it worse, because we have a bunch of extra lines now that might fuck up our beveling, but we'll see. So now that we have that, yeah, nope, still nothing on there. So this works, that works, that works. We just need the same thing on the outside there. Like even that works. But it's the fucking triangles, man. I guess we delete these faces and we just try to like figure out how we do this with pure quad topology. Because I think if we delete these faces, it will actually start recognizing that other thing as a loop. Oh, what the fuck did I do? Oh, now everything, because we have, yeah, so now everything will bevel because we don't have those anymore. Which also means that, why is this not a loop? Why do you not recognize this as a loop? What the fuck is wrong with you? Why is that? Oh, because this is an N-gon. Okay, hold on. Now it should recognize, what the fuck? Oh, that's still an N-gon. We have a few too many N-gons. Hold on, I'm fixing it. Which also makes the sizes of all these things a little bit more reasonable, I think. But now that we have that, finally this is a loop. Holy shit! Yeah, so the game jam, I'm kind of thinking if I want to make a video on that or not. I'm gonna at least play through all the games that were submitted. But it's only like 5, which is fun and like good. But I don't know if I'm going to probably combine another video that I wanted to make about like not being afraid of failure. That's the thing that I've been talking about a lot over the past couple of months if you've been like regularly tuning in. I'm probably going to combine that with a bit of talking about the game jam, because that was part of the theme of the game jam. I don't know if there's like enough for me to talk about to make like an engaging, interesting video about just the game jam on its own. I think, well, let's actually, I just got the idea to like manually bevel these as well, because that will create the quads that I need. So yeah, I don't know if there is necessarily, what is that a quad actually? That's 1, 2, 3. Yeah, that is a quad. So I don't know that the game jam by itself is a like super interesting topic to make an entire video about. If there were more submissions, it might be, but with the current state of how many like games were submitted, I probably will try to just live stream the 5 submissions that were that were submitted, and maybe if there's some other people who like did make games for the game jam but didn't submit in time and like just send a message through like Discord, or I don't know if there's like a game jam like comments page, like a game jam wide discussion thread where you might be able to also like post your games after they've been finished. I don't really care if you're like a day late on it. If you've been working on it and you just kind of missed the deadline, I mean, that's fine. That makes sense. That's fair. So that's kind of the deal, is that I think I'm going to live stream playing it this Thursday or maybe next Wednesday. It kind of depends. And then I'll like circle back into the game jam in the video that I want to make about the subject of like failure as like a general concept. Alright, so let's set this back to being by weight. And then bevel, and then maybe do like 2 levels of bevel. And then all of these are going to get a little bit of beveling as well. Just a bit. There we go. And then we set this to auto shade smooth, and we have stuff and things happening. Now, ideally, I would like, if possible, to get all these and like inset them maybe. And maybe do something with that, but I don't know. This probably also doesn't have like loop tools, right? I don't have any of the usual add-ons called loop tools, right? Blender loop. Is it loop tools? Can I just add, drag and drop into Blender? Can we just do that? Yeah, no. Doesn't seem like that's working. I guess we can just download and open up the thingamajig from here, so we can install. We can install just from a zip file, right? Let me try to copy location, install from disk. There we go, loop tools. Now I need to remember how loop tools actually works. Yeah, it's good to like practice deadline crunch with game jams. That's what I like about them as well. It forces you to finish a project as well, which is oftentimes something that you can find yourself in working on like a big project. Like just getting a project over the finish line, even if it kind of sucks because this is a game jam and you made it in like a week or a weekend. Just the fact that you made something that you finished can be very educational and also just straight up very motivating, which is of course great. Oh, hold on, if I just bevel this, does it like create circular? No. But I can sub? No, that's, no. I can just subdivide, right? Yeah, so we can do that. And that's going to, well, fuck up my edge flow again, obviously. What is the, we'll fix the edge flow thing in a moment. First I want to see like loop tools, category edit. I know there's a shortcut for it though, right? Oh, loop tools, there we go, circle. There we, oh, what the fuck? I don't know if 4 faces is enough to like make a reasonable circle. We might need more geometry here. Well, that actually does fairly well. Okay, so let's just do all 4 at once because we had a bunch selected just a moment ago. What happens if we just circle this? I don't think that that's good enough. I do think that we're going to need to subdivide, then not inset, because that would be, again, insanity. We circle, and then for some reason these two kind of get messed up. I don't know why, but they do. And then we individual origins, scale them down until they are at a reasonable size as well. Just wanted to thank you for putting out such quality tutorial content, so thank you. Well, so you're welcome. I always do like it when I find that my stuff is appreciated. Maybe before we start extruding this out, we also should figure out the... Yeah, let's... I really should just get auto mirror for this thing. And now that we have this, what the fuck am I doing? Now that we have this thing open, I can just auto mirror, and we can just install from disk as well, because I have the page open anyway. Get add-on, download, file, no, preferences. No, we just click this, install from disk, and then we have like auto mirror somewhere in here, surely. Add-on auto mirror. There we go. So that's in the Z and the X or something? Or the Y? No. In the X and in the Z. So now we only have one quadrant, which means that we somehow made this thing become larger? What? Okay, sure. Okay, but now that we have that, it makes everything just a little bit easier to work with, because we only need to add one quarter of this at a time. Which means that we don't need to do like all this extra geometry cutting like 4 times, which is really nice, because obviously otherwise it's a pain. This technically does make it 4 quads, I think. Maybe not, I don't know. Is that not a quad? That's a quad, and that's... I mean, those are both quads. So I don't know what the fuck's going wrong with you. I guess those aren't technically loops anymore. Well, no. Oh, I guess this is now not a quad. Oh, yeah, no, that makes sense. So yeah, how are we gonna deal with that? Do we just like go from here all the way the fuck to here? Is that how we do that? I guess that's how we do that, because it is a loop now again. So I guess that's how we do. Yeah, so that should now allow us to extrude this without too much trouble, right? Just like extrude it twice. And bevel the hell out of it. And then also like actually add in the bevels from the modifier too. Well, these inner faces don't need bevels actually. Yeah, that's probably pretty good. My initial idea for the game jam was a car game where you could, where you would have to go as fast as possible, as pathways would change constantly in all directions and gravity change. You would be able to drive on the wall and stuff. Yeah, gravity is a little weird. And it doesn't work with vehicle movement component. Okay. That's also not ideal. So then you would need to like make your own custom gravity stuff, and well, that's where you got like, yeah, but we are also doing this within 10 days, so maybe be reasonable, which is fair. So why do these not bevel properly anymore now? Because this definitely like bevels properly, and this like these select as. I don't know what's going on, man. Guess we just manually bevel this. And kind of call it a day. I want to say this is probably good enough. And then we need to have this like thing in the middle, which... Man, how are we going to do that? I guess we could just try to do this. And that's probably going to fuck things up in some way, right? Because this is now... Well, no, actually... I mean, technically these are triangles, so that's not great. But this is not nearly as big of an issue as I thought it might be. If we set this to bounding box center, no. If we set this to active element, no. If we set this to median points, yeah, that doesn't actually like scale up pretty well. So I guess we just move you in the... I mean, that's not what I wanted to do, but that's kind of a neat effect. I want to move you in your normal direction. Like that, yes. And then I guess we scale you in a normal to make you bigger again, and that's... Yeah, that's it. that's just it. Okay, cool. Let's do that a little bit more. Any reason you're doing your weapon from scratch like this? I mean, I don't like using pre-made assets for things that are central to my game. For like props and stuff, I will gladly do that, but like for characters and weapons, and there's only like a handful of weapons in the game. I want those to be like unique, and you're not gonna find this as a pre-existing asset, right? Like a weird ass like half fantasy, half diesel punk, like pickaxe sword thing. Like this just, I would be surprised if this existed to begin with. So like there's nothing, like even if I wanted to, like if I want to have this, I need to make it. And that's kind of the thing. I want to have this because this is like, this adds a little bit of like character and uniqueness and personality to the world. Whereas like there's also like a bunch of skulls that are going to be like laying around on the ground in places, right? I'm not going to model every single bone or every single skull in the game. Obviously. That would be insane. Because there's only so many ways you can realistically make a skull. That is just a background prop. Let me check the marketplace. You might find stuff that like approximates this, but like the different weapons are like a fairly significant part of the game, which means that there's going to be focus on them, which means that I don't want them to show up in other games. Is essentially what it comes down to. The same thing with all the enemy designs. The same thing with the main character and the boss designs. Like, I don't want that to like show up in other games, because that would be really kind of lame. Yeah, so I think we just like kind of inset this, right? How do I make it so that it doesn't inset to like that specific boundary? That's it. There we go. I figured it out. Sometimes boundary works, sometimes it doesn't. I don't know what does what and why and when, but sometimes it does and sometimes it doesn't. So yeah, then we just do this. I mean, basic pickaxe, I can imagine, because that's just one of those like very generic props that like a lot of games might be able to use. So you can like fairly easily sell that stuff, right? But like taking that pre-existing model and then modifying it or something like that is probably like even more trouble than it's worth, to be honest. So at that point, just making this from scratch and actually making what you want it to be kind of makes more sense, I think. Because we can get like this stuff done. And I'm very glad that we made this as a separate mesh and not as just extrusions of this mesh. Because imagine the trouble that we would have getting all of the like geometry lined up to have the bevel modifier actually work in there. That wouldn't be fun. But yeah, let's make sure that we keep saving regularly, and we're kind of like getting there as far as like the basic shape goes. There's still the issue that this thing is fucking round as hell. Even if we like put this thing back on. At this point, I don't know that we're gonna fix that. To be 100% real with you, we might not. That's the wrong slider. Let's start creasing up some of these edges as well that I just want a little bit more angular. These as well, I would say. Shift, not control. There's gotta be like an internal edge there as well, right? Yes. Yes, there is. Okay. Okay, asset creators need to chill out, man. Found an asset pack that has 20 different hoes farming equipment. I mean, there's probably also asset packs out there that have more than 20 different hoes, if you know what I mean. Who needs that many variations of hoes? That's kind of the thing, right? If you make a like farming or like just general tool pack, like having one, maybe like 2 variations of a hoe, it's probably enough. But beyond that, if you need that many variations of a hoe in your game, there's a very good chance that you're making a farming-based game, at which point people are going to be looking at that model a lot, and I would argue that you want to make that model yourself, or like have a unique model, rather, if you're like hire an artist or whatever. But you want to have something unique if people are going to be looking at it constantly. So, like, what is the actual like target audience? What is the market for a pack that has 20 different hoes? Because I legitimately don't really see a lot of scenarios where that makes sense. Did he? Yeah, I mean... yeah. Let's see how this do. Well, I think that this being a little bit more round is actually fine. I decided. Does this have a proper loop? It mostly does. And then I guess I never put down the... What the hell even is going on with the edges? Hold on. There we go. I figured out what's going on with those edges. Just need to select them all now. It might also be easier if we just turn this on so that I can select the edges in edit mode a little bit easier. I always forget that that's a thing in Blender that you can do. But yeah, that is a thing that you can do in Blender. So that's nice. And then we can take, like, specifically these and crease them up even more. So we again kind of get more of that, like, blade feeling on the pickaxe. I like your Blender skills. I mean, I wish I liked my Blender skills. I want to learn it. I bought a 137-hour course, but didn't start it. Holy shit, a 137-hour course. That's a lot. Have you done the Blender tutorial, like the donut tutorial yet? That's probably a good place to start. Oh, this kind of seems weirdly bulbous now. I don't know what happened there. I mean, I guess that kind of makes sense. We probably just need to scale this in a little bit. To make it a bit more, yeah. I like that. Yeah, this is going surprisingly well. I guess next up would be this bit, but I don't know if I want my design to have that bit, to be honest with you. I kind of think that it makes the design like a little bit more busy than it needs to be, but maybe once we start adding in more of the pipes. But then again, do we want those pipes, is the question. Because maybe I don't actually want it to be like too steampunky or dieselpunky. Maybe I just want it to be the way it is now. I think this is pretty good. We're gonna do one thing. We're gonna do one important thing here. And that is I'm gonna make the handle longer. Because I can already tell that I'm gonna need that to be longer. So we're gonna take this and we're gonna move it down. Because we're going to need to have this function as a weapon, right? Which means that it needs a certain amount of range to it. Which, well, we might have done a little bit too much. Maybe we've gone a little bit overboard with that. Hold on. Let's do it a little less. Something like that. Yeah, that feels a little bit more reasonable as a weapon. Can't hang, just want to stop by and say hi. We're going to say hi back to you. And then I guess you get back to work, because work is important. Which is why I'm not doing any of it right now. That's not fair. We actually made like a lot of progress in this stream so far. At this point, I'm just kind of fucking around. Fun work. Nah, that doesn't exist. I've never heard of such a thing. I guess what we kind of want to do is we want to maybe like maneuver this around a little bit more. To fit around our like actual pickaxe head. Ever so slightly more. No, yes. Is that something we want to do? I think that's something we want to do. That's also something that that kind of sucks to do though. Hold on one moment. Why? I thought I'd closed my WhatsApp stuff. Oh, no, I didn't. Now it's closed. Alright. It's kind of annoying when you close something in your taskbar and it just goes into like your system tray icons. And it doesn't actually close. It's also annoying when people do not have the capability of typing out a full message before sending it and send 10 messages instead. But I do think that's also maybe a messenger setting that is different for different people. Because in most my messengers that I use, I very much prefer when I press enter for it not to be sent, but just to be like new line, right? Because of this exact thing, I don't want to like press enter and then send a message before I'm done writing it. But if you just have it working as where pressing enter is just sending and not making a new line, at which point you probably to like make a new line would usually be like shift enter instead, right? But if you just like press enter after every sentence, you're going to be sending like super fragmented messages, and that's like actually like kind of annoying. Not along the normal, please, but globally. Yeah, that feels a bit better. Maybe a little point. Oh yeah, so kind of like having a small, less detailed version of this, which I do think we need to add a little bit more like definition to this to begin with. Now I look at this, like maybe we inset this ever so slightly or whatever. Ooh, yeah, okay. If we inset that and then like extrude this along face normals inward. That's probably like a good thing to do. Let me like crease the hell out of this a little more. And I think it might be nice to like start creasing the new previous point. Start creasing these edges here as well. The top does look a little empty, doesn't it? I do kind of agree with that, yeah. So make that look a little bit more angular at the bottom as well. So yeah, I think having like a top with like a little spike like that as well might not be a bad idea. It's just a matter of kind of like doing this, right? And then face mode, insets. Maybe a little bigger than this. And we can like extrude. Extrude scale. Well, we probably want this to be 90 degree rotated, I imagine. Well, not 90 degree, 45 degree. Rotation 45. Make it a little smaller. And we'll crease it up in a moment. Because right now it looks really weird. Hold on. No. We gotta crease that up ASAP. Oh, no. Okay, that's better. That suddenly looked... No. You can add a magical ore kind of thing on the top. It's like an energy source for the steampunk pickaxe. That's like not a bad idea. I don't know if I want to like go through with like all the steampunky stuff, because number one is going to be a lot of work. And number two, I think it might end up being a little bit too busy, like visually. Like it's kind of borderline here, right? So maybe I end up doing only like these pipes for the steampunky thing, and not the pipes that like extrude out of the like the profile view. I mean, if you're brave enough, I think, is to saying, yeah. I mean, let's grease it. Well, crease with a C, not grease. Don't grease it up. Don't do that. Or you can do whatever you want on your own time. Just don't do it while watching my stream, because it's weird. Because I can't stop you from doing that, which is an unfortunate thought. Creasing. I guess I kind of just want to crease everything in this, don't I? It's becoming worse. It's becoming. Oh no! Everybody, look away! Look away! Don't look at the screen, okay? Just give me a moment. There we go. That's a little. I don't. That's not much better. That's actually no. That doesn't help. Well, it kind of helps. Let's decorate it a little bit. Maybe if we decorate it a little bit, it'll look less like something you stick up your ass. I don't even know what the fuck I'm doing with it. What the hell? What even? Oh, it's because the boundary thing. No, even what the fuck? What the? Individual, that's what I wanted. Yeah, so what I wanted to do is individual, and then extrude along face normals and like extrude them in a little. So I can do like just a little bit of a pattern design on them. Bevel. I mean, everything is beveled, right? That's... Oh, well, no, it's not, because everything is subdivided. And we're creasing them, like, manually. Like, back up. I guess we just also need to crease this bit back up a little. Now, we just need this to be, like, smaller, so that's more of a point. Yeah, that doesn't really... That's not doing it, is it? The spiky butt plug isn't doing it for me. Which is definitely a sentence that I said that's not out on the internet. Maybe it just needs to be bigger. Which is also a sentence that I just said that's not out on the internet. Today's a weird day. Yeah, I think making it just bigger is probably the way to go. Maybe this is too big. Well, no, it's actually... Yeah, it should probably like match roughly the size of like the shafts. God damn it. Why does this happen to me? Yeah, you see, we're making the shaft thicker. But I do think that the size of this now makes a little bit more sense as well. It's just, it is actually 45 degrees angled away from the way that this thing down here is angled. And I don't know if that's a good thing or not. It might be better if these are aligned in the way that they are rotated, or it might be actually better that they aren't aligned. Like that might, I don't know if that's, I don't know what's better. I do think that I want to be risky and decrease the creasing on this again a little bit, so that it's slightly more rounded from the bottom. Make it size adjustable for all enemies on all sizes. Yeah, maybe not. Imagine how much of a pain this is going to be to UV on Rapman. It's probably not going to be that bad, actually. It's definitely a very hard shaft. I'll give you that. Well, I won't give you that. I'm not a Minecraft YouTuber. Then again, my audience is not primarily 13, so slightly less to worry about there. Moved it in a little more. I kind of feel that these are now a little ugly. So let's take this and like slide this back a little. And then maybe bevel it slightly less. That does make it feel a little bit more cohesive, I think. Yeah, so how I think we do want to add a couple of pipes to this, maybe. And we're probably going to do that with splines, I would think. That would make the most sense, right? Doing that with a spline. Or am I going to manually model that? That doesn't seem like a good idea at all. Yeah, so let's just make a spline segment. Might be a little long. I guess if we want to technically do this right, these connecting pieces should only be like actually at bending points, because that's how like pipes work, right? Well, no, you can have like two bits of pipe that are just bolted together that are straight. You don't necessarily need to have that as one long pipe. So but whenever you have a bend, you do need one of them at either end. So maybe having this like actually like manually modeling this does make more sense. All joking aside, it would be a cool mechanic if a game to have an adjustable size pickaxe that you can use for platforming and stuff. Would have to be physics-based game, I guess. I mean, I guess you can make like kind of like an ice climbing pickaxe, or more like a game about digging kind of pickaxe. Yeah, let's manually model it, because I don't give a shit. And I'm an idiot, is really what it comes down to. And ideally this is probably going to be not symmetrical either, is it? Probably don't make symmetrical pipes. Yeah, that makes sense. Definitely needs to be thinner, by the way. Like everything selected, like definitely like a bunch thinner. That's a little bit more like it, I would say. I mean, I can make some kind of exhaust pipes, I guess, but you would need to like have at that point a source. Well, what we could actually do, that gives me a good idea. Instead of this being an exhaust, what we could do is actually we could bridge these, right? And then what do we do? Can we bridge these as well? That gonna create problems? No. So okay, we can bridge all this. I'm so glad that I installed loop tools because that instantly makes my life a lot easier. We can like put in a little easy to make like crystal in there. That can just be emissive. And that can be like the power source, something like that. If we just do an icosphere and set the subdivisions to 1, it just becomes... I was gonna do just like a fairly simple prism, just like 2 pyramids on top of each other. I think this works. I think just like having a unsubdivided icosphere is fine for what we need it to be here. And then the pipes can come out of this and go into like this part of the blade. So this is just like a hard material, and this is like magically enhanced with technology. Which is kind of like the theme of the boss as well, right? Which is like being enhanced with technology, because he's got like those Doc Ock as arms, tentacle things. So I think that this kind of does kind of make sense. Yeah, I like that. That said, we're going to need to use the spin tool, and I always get very upset when I have to use the spin tool because it never fucking works. So let's give it a shot. If we spin tool, we spin minus 90 degrees, and then we have to set the center of this thing, right? So we... Well, that's actually working fairly well, never mind. Yeah, okay, that actually works out really easily. Okay, turns out I'm a god. I'm really good at this. Now then, ideally, sometimes having like a T-split in the pipes would maybe be nice as well. Ooh, are we gonna try to do that? Am I going to be that much of an idiot and ruin a potentially good thing with doing that? It's probably not, right? I'm probably just gonna be safe with it. Just being 100% honest with you. But maybe... Z1, no, 0, 0. It's the wrong... -1. What the fuck is up with these directions, man? There we go. Okay. Minus... Let's do -1.5. There we go. So we can add a couple of these. And I think keeping it simple is probably actually like reasonably a good thing. All kidding aside. It's like extruding. Oh, that's not what I want to do. I want to extrude along normals. It's like doing this and then adding in an extra loop cut like here. Well, maybe move it over a little bit more. And then doing the same thing like for this. there. And there. And that's some pipes. You can add some custom parameters to your VFX in Unreal to lerp the color of the Niagara VFX to look hotter. The more you use in a row, add overheat mechanic for damage buff. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to do that. I mean, it's a nice idea, but probably not. I do think having, like, how difficult would it be? With loop tools, probably not that. I mean, changing the color over time it's all pretty easy, but it's just like, if it doesn't mean anything, it might be confusing, and if it does mean something, that means that I have to like program that mechanic for this specific weapon, which I might do, but I probably won't. I just realized that actually making a thing here isn't that difficult, so we'll need to apply the modifier here, which is kind of scary. But I'm going to do that. Because we can just kind of like do this. Select all of these. And see what this does when it turns into a circle. There we go. It's kind of ugly, but it kind of, I mean, can't tell me it doesn't work. And we can smooth this out in a moment, maybe a little more. Where is my stuff? So we do another minus 90 degrees, but then I guess we can just use the widget to move this as well, which makes it a little easier. But we do have the risk of doing that, which is the reason that we don't do that. We can set the axis to being like 1 0, no, 1 0. -1. I always get mixed up with having to manually put in the axes, because is it this? Would it be that? Might be that. Yeah, so it would be this, and then setting it to 1 instead, and then having this thing like down here. Okay, got it figured out, kind of, eventually. I didn't really think through where I'm going to put this, so that's not ideal. But I can just kind of like extrude it and then decide what I want to do with it then, eh? And then also, oh, no. Also select no. Also select this, because we do want to like rotate this probably a little in this direction. Oh, this is gonna be tricky. Didn't that end up going that badly, surprisingly. So what I'm thinking, from an engineering perspective, again, definitely probably doesn't make sense, and I definitely probably don't care. I want to like have it loop back into this area over here. So that would be... again, I'm guessing just minus 90 or just positive 90. Maybe positive 90 makes sense for this side, actually, yeah. And then we might need to like modify the axis a little because it's kind of weird. What did we have? Like 1 and then 0? I guess this is minus 1. Oh yeah, because we are doing positive 90 now. Yeah, that makes sense. Can make the bend a little longer and then just extrude into there. Extrude along normals. Set that thing up the way we want it to. I definitely should have made a copy of just these things without any modifications going into this side as well. I realize that now. I'll just copy over the bottom one here and array that upward instead. That's a realization that I made a little on the late side. I will admit. I could also just use, I guess, this specific loop to do these extra bits, but I like the idea that these are like a little less bendy. They have a little like more straightness to them, which I usually, I mean, wouldn't be advocating for a lot more straightness, but in this case, definitely. Yeah, and then we get to like this area, right? So that's gonna be the problematic area. I don't want to bevel this. I don't want to extrude edges. Well, I do want to extrude edges, but I want to do it along normals. Yeah, okay. So, I guess what we do is we hope that this works surprisingly well, maybe. Nobody's going to be looking too closely at that. That probably does well enough, right? Yeah. That's probably good enough. So yeah, let's copy this over, scale it in the Y to -1, and just move it over. That's not a great way of doing things, but it's, again, the way that we're going to do things. So if you have any issues with it, that seems like a you problem. Delete all these verts. And we'll just add in an array modifier to go 1.5 up in the Z, none on the X, the fuck, the Y, because Blender is a bitch. It's a little on the symmetrical side, maybe a little more than I would like. So what we can do perhaps is like take all this, let's make this X-rayable. Take all this without that last bit. You know, just use the loop selection. Don't be an idiot, just loop select everything. There we go. Well, actually, we don't even need to select that bit of the pipe. All that we need to do is we need to select this loop, that, no, that loop, yes, this loop, and then this face. I'm going to be moving that a little like to this side, which I know that that's not how that works, but it breaks up the like uniformness of everything, and I think that's good. It's a really weird like pipe joint, I am aware. Even with my 0 skill in engineering, I am aware that that is weird, probably. Then again, I do have a little bit of insight into like water cooling loops, I guess, which is kind of what this is. I don't build my own custom ones, but I do like watching people build custom water cooling loops. And sometimes you do have those weird angles. So I don't know if there's like in like actual like piping that stuff happens. But that does break up the like uniformity of things a little bit, and I do like that. So I think this mod might be a little on the extreme side, to be fair, but we can just try to like kind of see what we can do about that. By moving this all over a little, and then maybe even like rotating it slightly. Yeah, that's good stuff. I wish we could give these like random offsets. I guess we can with like a driver, but I don't want to do that. That's too much. So I guess we apply this as well. And we kind of just do the same thing to this side, I guess. You know, this is the first time in a while that I'm working on a model, and I'm actually thinking, you know, I'm not constantly messing like stuff up. I'm like legitimately pretty consistently getting more happy with the end result. Which doesn't happen that much. So that's probably a good sign. I'm going to be real with you. The like little mole boss fight that we made and still need to program. I don't hate it, but I also like don't love it. I like this model a lot more than that boss fight so far. So yeah, let's I guess copy this over again. Just as like a template, I think that this is a pretty like good one. Like to use for the pipes, and then I guess what we do is we first and foremost only make one of these. That's not what I wanted to do. We only have one of these. Make it a fair bit smaller. I think I would prefer, let's do this in local space actually, because that way we can fairly easily like have two of these side by side, which no, we don't need to do that. We can array this. Hold on. Let's be smart about this. Relative offset in that direction. And then we add yet another modifier. We're gonna mirror this bitch, and we're gonna mirror it along the icosphere. Huh, that's not what I expected to happen, but that's actually a good thing to happen, because this is what I wanted. I was expecting that to need to be two things. Okay, cool. Yeah, I like that. I think we got a weapon. Now we do need to like UV unwrap it and texture it and all that stuff. But I feel like that's maybe a thing to do another day. I think for now we pretty much like are at the place where I want to be with this. Aside from the fact that maybe this could do with being a little like more rounded still. I'm just gonna try to see what happens if I take like all of these edges and bevel them. Like if just this whole shaft bit becomes more rounded, I will be happy. Barely, right? Like if I just control see that. I wish I could stay within object mode and do that. Yeah, I guess we just keep that kind of square and just deal with it, to be honest. Maybe we just shrink this a little in this direction still, so that it kind of feels like this is very much the place where you're supposed to grip. Kind of feel like that does make a difference. Okay. Yeah, so let's call it here for now. We made pretty, like, we didn't even make good progress. We just made the model, as far as I'm concerned. I might tweak it a little bit over the next couple of days, but for the most part, we have the next weapon, which means that I'm gonna need to start animating the next set of animations at some point, which I'm doing a ability programming, and there's a lot to do. But thanks everybody for hanging out, for joining in, and we'll be back on Thursday. I hope on Thursday we'll be playing the Game Jam games, and then maybe UV unwrapping this after we've played the Game Jam games, because I don't expect that to take the full stream. Usually I stream for like 2 hours, 3 hours. There's going to be like 5, maybe like 6 games if people like submit a little bit late. And I don't expect to be playing most games for like a half an hour. Maybe I'm mistaken, and maybe we will. But we might get started on UV unwrapping this thing. We might not. I don't know. We'll see. The unwrap is going to be an interesting process, though. I probably should have unwrapped that pipe before I duplicated it like a billion times. Because having the UV seams on that before duplicating it over so much probably would have helped a lot. Because now I'm going to need to go through every single one of these pipes and set up the seams. Yeah, that wasn't a smart move on my part at all. Holy shit. Oh well.